Welcome again to the channel Gateway to IT, and today we're going to discuss about the SCCM client installation method. So how we're going to install the SCCM agent on the client machines. Client machines can be our Windows server or Windows operating system, Windows workstation, laptop, desktop, anything. So how exactly you're going to do that? So that's what we're going to discuss in this video. So the very first method, which is a very common method to install the SCCM agent, is client push method, which you can actually do from the SCCM console. You can just go to the SCCM console and assets and compliance, and then you can right click on it and say install client. So this you can do from the console itself. We're gonna discuss this in detail in the upcoming session. Now the second method is manual client installation. So in manual installation, we use a command line, and with the help of command line, we will install this SCCM agent. And I'm going to explain this method as well. I will tell you what is the basic command line to install the SCCM agent and what are the different types of switches which we're going to use in the command line of the SCCM agent installation. So that's the second method. Now the third method is group policy installation. So we can create a group policy, software installation group policy. So in that we can also install the client. I'll give you the more details in the upcoming video. Now there is another method which we can do with the software update based installation. That also we can do. Now the client installation during the operating system deployment, this will be with the task sequence while we installing the operating system on a machine, on a laptop, desktop. We can install the agent during the OS installation itself. Now the next method is logon script installation. So in this we will create a logon script, and as soon as a user will log on to the machine, the script will be executed, and in that script there will be a command to install the SCCM agent. So that's how the logon script will work. Now the last method is Intune and MDM installation. So we can create an application on Intune, and then from there we can push the application to the client machine, and we can also do with this with at the time of autopilot process. So in this video I'm only gonna discuss the client push installation and manual installation, because these are the common client installation method which is being used in all the companies. However, if you want me to create a video on other methods, like other SCCM client installation methods, do let me know in the comment box, and then I'm going to create a video for you on that. Now let's discuss about the ports requirement which is required for the client installation. So right now it is for the client push installation, but there are some common ports which are required on other methods as well. So let's discuss the very first port, which is port number 445, or we can also say SMB port. We need this SMB port because while doing the client push installation, the SCCM server has to send two initial file to the client machine in order to start the installation, and those two initial file has to be transferred via port number 445 via SMB share. Like, so those are the two files, and I will explain about those two files in my video while we are doing the lab for the client installation. I'm going to explain you that. Port number 135 obviously for the RPC, and we need this for the remote registry connection. That is also required. There are dynamic ports required for the site server and the client computer communication. Then port number 80 for HTTP, and port number 443 HTTPS. If your environment is on HTTP, then obviously port number 80 is required, and if you have on HTTPS, then port number 443 is required. So these are for the client push installation. Now let's discuss about the port requirement for the manual installation and the logon script installation. So for the manual installation and the logon script based installation, we require port number 445, port number 80, and port number 443. And these 445 again going to be used for copying the file, the installation files. Port number 80 and port number 443 are required for the communication. So initial files which gonna be started on the machine will be like ccm setup.exe, and the rest of the communication will be happen on port number 80 and port number 443 in order to install the SCCM agent properly. Installation of SCCM agent doesn't mean that as a client is installed, the proper installation will be finished when the machine is registered properly to the SCCM server. So the registration process also has to be completed, and obviously in order to communicate with the SCCM server to the management point, the port number 80 and port number 443 is required. Now, software update based installation, we need 80 or 8530, because let's say your Windows Update Service is configured on port number 80, then we will be needing port 80 to be open, or if it is configured on the custom port which is 8530, then we will be requiring port number 8530 to be open. In the same way, for HTTPS, if your Windows Update Service is running on HTTPS, then 443 or 8531. So you need to see where exactly your Windows Update Service is configured, whether on port number 443 or 8531. Then again the SMB, which is required for the copying of the content, then port number 445 also required. Now let's do a lab for a SCCM client installation, and also we're going to do the initial setup which is required for the SCCM agent to be installed on a machine, which we have to do on the SCCM server side. So to install the SCCM client, the very first thing or very first configuration which we have to do is under administrations. So we have to go under administrations, then we have to go to site configuration. Under site configuration we have to go for sites. Under sites we click on the site for which we have to configure. So let's say this is the only site I have, so I have to go for the client installation setting, and then I have to go for a client push installation. So in this, the very first option, it says enable automatic site-wide client push installation. This option we have to enable when, let's say we have discovered the clients in the SCCM console, which we can see here under the devices. So whatever devices we'll see here, these are the discovered devices. I mean, these are the default machines which gets created, but these are my discovered devices. Now we discovered these devices with the discovery methods. So this options which we have here under this client push, so it says as soon as a newly client discovers computer resource or an existing computer resource that do not have a client installed. So if any machines which got discovered in the SCCM console, and which even it is a new one or it's an old one, but if it does not have a SCCM agent installed on it, then we can install the SCCM agent with this. So as soon as we check this option, it will be automatically installing the agent on the machines. Now the system types. In system types, we will see if we want to avoid the installation of SCCM client, then we can avoid these from here. Let's say if we don't want to install it on servers, we can uncheck that. If we don't want to install on workstation, we can uncheck that. And if we don't want to install on a SCCM site system, like remote distribution point, remote management point, so you can check these options. And if you want to install on it, then we have to check those options where we install the SCCM agents. For now, I'm going to only select the server and the workstation. Now the next setting is about the configuration manager client installation on the domain controller. By default, it is set to never install the configuration manager client on a domain controller unless you specified in the client push installation wizard. So if you want your SCCM agent to be automatically installed on the domain controllers as well, then we can choose this option. And if we manually want to specify the installation on the SCCM agent installation on the domain controller, then we have to keep choosing this option. Now next tab is we have to specify a client push account which should have a local admin permission on the machines. So initially we have created the accounts, and one of the account was the client push account. So I'm going to add that account here. So my test connection was successful. That means my account, which I have specified here, has the permissions. They apply. Now the installation properties, by default the installation properties will show the site code, but if you want to add any additional installation properties, then we can look for it URL which Microsoft has given, a document itself which they have created, and there are all kind of installation properties which we have for the SCCM agent. So with the help of these, I mean, if you want any specific uh, command line parameters has to be added, then you can look from this particular document according to your need, and then after that you can add that in here in the installation properties. So that's it. I mean, those are the configuration which we have to do for the client push installation, and we have to click OK. In order to do the client push, the very first thing which we have to do is we have to right click on the client machine and we have to say for install client. As soon as we say install client, we have to hit next, and then this option is for domain controllers. If your machine where you are installing the uh, if where you're pushing this particular client, then it will ask you if it is a domain controller, check this option. And let's say the machine where you're going to install the agent, it's a domain controller, and if you have not checked this option, then agent will not get installed on it. So you check this options. For in our case, it's a Windows 10 machines. We do not have to check this option. Now the next thing which we have to do is always install the client software. So we need this, or we check this option in different conditions, like if we want to install a client on a machine, if we want to repair, or if we want to upgrade, or if we want to reinstall a client. So that is the option you will check. That's where you check this option. Now the next part is uninstall existing configuration manager client before client is installed. So let's say if already a previous version or different SCCM agent is installed on the machine, so if you wanted to uninstall that first and then install this one, or you can also do this in term of while you're doing a troubleshooting on a machine, first you want to uninstall it, then install the fresh one, you can do this. So that's where you have to check this option. So in our case, we are not going to uninstall it, so let's uncheck this option. And this is for the site code, like which site you wanted to assign to that particular client. So I have only one site, then obviously, I mean, if you have a different sites, you can get in the drop down and you can choose that and then install the client. So that's how you can do it, and say next. Now this will show you the summary that this is how it's going to install it. So before we install it, I want to show you some logs, and the log location will be again where we have our SCCM installed. C program file configuration manager logs. Under logs, the very first log which we have to open is ccm.log. Now in ccm.log, we will see what is happening in the backend. Like when you install, when you hit the client installation from here, when you hit next, this log is the one which get initiated, and where you will see all the backend loggings, like what and all things happening in the backend. Before that, I want to show you, this is my client machine where I'm gonna install my SCCM agent. And if I see in the C Windows location, so I don't see any CCM setup, any folder in here. So now let's start it, and we'll see what is happening in the backend. So as soon as I hit next, ccm.log will be the one which get initiated. Now we can see that it processing the request for the client installation for my client IND01. And if we scroll it down, it will it's trying to connect to the admin $share, because there are two initial file which has to be copied to the client machine using this admin $share. So it is trying to check the connectivity, and this connectivity requires port number 445 to be opened, and here it is showing which account it's trying to connect to, and it says it's successfully connected. Now the next thing which is doing is IPC connection. Now the IPC connection is required for WMI connectivity if the WMI ports are open, and here we need port number 135, which is required for WMI, and again it is doing the connection with this account which we have created, client push account. Now this admin $share connectivity is done. Now if you see here, there are two files from this location: C program file, Microsoft configuration manager, bin i386, mobile client.tcf, and ccm setup.exe. These are the two files which are getting copied to this location, which is admin $. So first it has created a ccm setup folder. So if you see here, it is creating the directory for ccm setup, and then after creating the directory, it is copying these two files. Now if we go back to the client machine, we will be able to see that the CCM setup is already created, and I mean, I know the installation has already happened because it's so fast. It has created other folders as well. Like if you see in here, it has created CCM and CCM cache. So this is the only reason why we need SMB ports to be opened in for the client push, because these are the two files which has to be copied. The ccm setup.exe will create a ccm setup service, and that ccm setup service start running. As soon as that happens, there are it reads the file, it reads the information from mobile client.tcf. So mobile client.tcf will be here. If you see mobile client.tcf, and if you open this, it will tell you what and all information are there for the client machine. So in order to install a client, there are few information which is there in this particular TCF file. So these are the information which we get in the TCF file, and like what is the server name and MP, site code, and the site information. So all these information will come along with the mobile client.tcf, and with the help of mobile client.tcf, the SCCM installation will start it. Now we do not have to look anything on the server side, because on the server side, this particular log is enough for our client push installation, like ccm.log, and these are the only information which we have to look for, whether these two files has been copied successfully or not. As soon as these two files copied successfully, now we have to move back. Now we have to move to the client machine, and on client machine, the very first log which we have to see is ccm setup.log. So under ccm setup.log, we will see the complete installation process, what is happening in the backend, how the files are getting downloaded, and what MP and what command lines are getting executed in order to install it. So if you want to see that, you have to scroll it up, and then so this is the command line which will be there when you install the NACCM agent. So when you do a client push, so this is how it works, because it reads the configuration information from the mobile client.tcf, and then these are the information which is already there in mobile client.tcf. If you open that, it should match with this information which we get in the log file. Communication information are there. Now after this, it will try to communicate to the management point, which is like this one, and from management point it will get the information about the content. When I say content, the rest of the content. So initially we only got ccm setup.exe and mobile client.tcf, so I'm gonna change it to the file extension so you can see that. So we got only these two files initially. So now other files will come down with the help of this mobile client.tcf, which exactly it's looking for right now. So it is looking for the information of the management point and rest of the content to be downloaded. So now it found the MP, and that's how the installation will started for the client machine. Now if you want to see whether the client has been successful or not, so you have to look for ccm setup.exe and look for exit code 0. In some cases there could be a possibility that you are getting a fatal error like 101607 or something like that. Then in that case, I recommend you to open the log, which is client msi.log. So client msi.log will tell you why exactly that fatal error came in. So you can check with I mean, here also you will get the same kind of same error which you get in ccm setup. So as soon as you initiate as soon as you push start the client push, ccm dot log will initiate on the server side. Then on the client side, ccm setup.log will initiate it, and ccm setup.log initiate the client msi. So you can you can look for the CCM, I'm sorry, the client msi.log after that, and then client msi log will give you the exact error code, I mean sorry, the exit code, like whether the installation has been successful or not. So whatever exit code you will get here, the same exit code you will get in the ccm setup dot ccm setup.log. So that's how you have to track the installation. So after client installation, the next log file which we have to look for is, or the next process which we have to look for is a client registration process. Now for the client registration process, if you want to track that, that will comes under client ID manager startup.log, and the location will be same C Windows CCM logs. Once you open this log, this is how it looks like, and now my registration process has been started from here. So it is checking for some of the information like hardware ID, because the client has to send a unique GUID to the SCCM server, and that unique GUID will be created by combining all these information, by all these hardware IDs. So this is unique for every client machine, and that's how the client will send the registration request. Now the registration request has been sent to the client machine with the GUID ID this. If you see, this client is successfully registered. Now, if I wanted to track like what happened in the backend, so what I'll do here is I will take this GUID ID from here. I will copy this ID and I'll go back to the SCCM server. On SCCM server, we have to go to the location where we have installed our SCCM, like under program files, and then we have to go to SMS underscore CCM. Under that, we have to go to logs. Under logs, we have to go to MP underscore registration manager. So MP underscore registration manager. And if I go to the MP underscore registration manager, and if you see, I've already highlighted it here, but I'm going to highlight it one more time. So this was my GUID ID which client has sent. So this is my GUID ID. So now it got the GUID ID and it says MP registration process MP reg, again MP registration processing completed, completion state 0. That means the registration process has been completed. So that's how you can track your registration of your client machine. Now the client has installed, client is registered. Now we'll go back to the SCCM console and see whether our client is installed. So yes, our client is installed and active properly. So that's how you have to do a client push, and that's how you can track your client push installation as well. Now let's see how to do a manual client installation. So I'm going to take my IND02 machine for my manual client installation. Here the client is not installed. The very first thing which we have to do here is we have to go to a location which will be where your SCCM is installed and the client folder. So you have to copy this client folder. I'm going to copy it right now, and you have to paste it on the machine where you want to install it. So I'm copying the folder on my C drive. The folder has been copied. So the next thing which we have to do is we have to open a command prompt as an administrator. Now we have to navigate to the folder which is under C drive, CD client, and now we have to run the command line. Now my command line will be ccmsetup.exe /source. So source will be the folder which is under C drive client. That's what you have to give here. And then smsmp will be my management point name. So in my case, my management point is my primary site server. So I'm giving my primary site server name here, and then SMS site code. The site code in my case will be PRS. So that's how you have to put the command line and hit enter. So as soon as you hit enter, there will be a logs which gets created under C Windows CCM setup. So under CCM setup, you will be able to see the complete installation. Now, if you see here, CCM setup is running, and on backend MSI will also be running. So as soon as the MSI gives an exit code, your CCM will also give us an exit code there. So that's how you can track it. The process is same for the rest of the process will be the same for the manual client installation and the client push installation. Now we can see that we got the exit code 0 or return code 0 on ccm setup.log, and also we got the same exit code on client msi.log. So that's how you can track it. And again, as I said, the process will be same uh, for tracking the registration process or tracking the installation process. It's just we are pushing the client from the console in client push method, and in manual we are installing it from here. That is the difference. Rest of the process will be the same, like registration process and all those. So if you want to refer, if you wanted to track down the registration process and the installation process, please refer to my section where I have uh, given the information about the client push installation. So I've explained it in deep how you can track your client installation process. Now let's go to the console and see whether the client is installed. So yeah, our client is installed properly and we are good. This is the end of my this video, and if you want me to create the videos on other installation methods, do let me know in the comment box so I can create those videos for you. Thank you for watching.